Hello, everybody. It's John Browning with the Building Your Life podcast. We're here again today. Everyone knows who I am. If you're a normal listener to the Building Your Life podcast, my name is John Browning with Guardian Rock Wealth out of West Palm Beach. And we like to have guests on the show when we can that have a really interesting story and an origin story and where they came from and why they do what they do. Today, we have with us Sarena Diamond. And Sarena and I met, goodness, I don't know how long it has been, in a group that we are part of, the Success Champions Network. And Sarena, nobody can introduce yourself better than you. So I'm going to let you tell everybody who you are, what you
Awesome.
do, and why you do what you
Thank
do.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, John. I really appreciate it. So I am a transformation executive. What that really means is that I have deep expertise in organizational change management, communication strategy, executive facilitation, those kinds of pieces of work. Um, and I can do all that at this point as a solopreneur because I have over 30 years of corporate existence that started with Accenture, PepsiCo, IBM, Mellon Investor Services, types of things. And now I serve all kinds of clients from PE-backed ventures to small and medium businesses that are on the growth upswing. Um, I love working with companies on the uprise and making sure that I am helping them to find ways to inspire the changes that need to happen for them in order for them to grow.
So I heard a couple things in there that resonate with me. And you and I have talked, so we know each other
Yep,
a little bit, but we
yep.
talked a little bit before we started recording here. We both have a little bit of an origin story from Wall Street because you were working Bank of New York Mellon, right?
Yep.
And on 9/11, I was on the phone. I was in Chicago, but I was on the phone with Bank of New York Mellon and
Oh
Morgan
gosh.
Stanley. They were in one ear, and Morgan Stanley was in the other ear because I was on the trading desk at the time.
Wow.
And so were you in Bank of New York Mellon on 9/11? Were you part of the organization then?
I was part of the organization. I actually was not working in the facility in the corporate offices that day. I was actually at home because if you remember, or maybe you don't, it was the Jewish High Holy Days, and my
I
ex-husband
definitely remember it. Yeah.
right, was was Jewish, um, and so I was actually at home when one of the people that worked for me called and said, where are you? Making sure that I was actually not coming to the office, and that I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to the Wall Street location, which was across the street. Um, and it was a really big turning point from my corporate career because I had been on the rise, so to speak. That was a very big. I had a beautiful office, not facing. We were on the New Jersey side, not facing the Hudson River, um, but I was corner office. Two sides were glass. If you had two sides were glass, that was a big deal. My name was painted on my parking spot. That felt to me like I had arrived.
Yes.
And there was a big piece of that. And then the combination, and I was the leader of the employee ownership program, your business unit at Mellon. So the people that would trade restricted stocks, employee shares, 9/11, and then followed right up with Enron, made sure that the value of that portfolio was in the water, underwater by a lot, by a
By
lot,
a lot.
a
Yes.
lot. And nobody trades when things are underwater. They sort of sit tight and hold, right? So that was a very big turning point for me because at the time the options coming out of that as the business unit was about to be sold was Pittsburgh, where corporate headquarters, or a package. And I gambled. I took a package and went out and on my own and sort of started my next chapter at IBM. What I didn't know at the time, when I was accepting that package, probably should have, they're always the last to know, was that my life as at home was changing pretty dramatically, and I was about to become a single parent. So my next chapter at IBM was really started out about being safe, about being the breadwinner, which I had been all of my time in the first from Accenture to Mellon. And now I was going to be the solo breadwinner exclusively from my IBM days. And it was really, from that perspective, there was so much going on turn-wise and personally, that I really decided to shift down. At IBM, I said I took a single individual, senior level, but single individual contributor role. Um, it took 12 years for me to return to an executive trajectory at IBM because I had young kiddos at home and their life had been turned upside down enough. But I continued on through that. And it's very funny because one of the things I used to say all the time at IBM is, I will do anything. These kids are the priority. And I used to joke, well, they didn't make me clean the men's room today. Now, it was kind of funny. But there were some of the transformational pieces of work that I was doing that were things that others wouldn't have touched. It became one of those, oh, this is going to be really hard, or it's really ugly, or it's beyond the ability to deliver. Let's get Sarena. And that was the whole Mikey cereal commercial from the 70s was my theme song for quite a bit of my career. But I did return to the executive ranks, and I had phenomenal second peak kind of thing in my corporate life. And then IBM and Kyndryl were about to spin off, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next between those two roles. And I started looking outside, and I had one opportunity. A leader was very charismatic in offering me the perfect role that I wanted my last corporate position. I was in for 6 months. And then I was, like so many people, I was handed a 27-second Zoom call and a guilty severance package that allowed me to not worry immediately in the short term about money. And I founded my own company, decided that the one person I could always trust was myself to be leading my path and my journey. Diamond Solution Group was formed really on a run in the hills in Hawaii. and I came back, put my shingle out, didn't know that entrepreneurs don't always work. So I started working like a crazy person, founded a couple of engagements through talent sourcers, turned every networking stone over that I could possibly do. And I had more work, 3 years of more work than I knew what to do with, and continued to build this capability that I have now. And I love the leadership and the kinds of companies that I have helped since then, the kinds of organizations that are seeing some of those transformational activities come to fruition. And I've just been so blessed to be part of those.
So there was a whole lot in there,
Sorry.
I don't want to miss any of it though. I don't want our audience to miss some of the really key points. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and I'm
Yep.
going to point some things out.
Sure.
Number one, let's just admit it. It's really nice. I had the privilege and the honor to be able to experience the really nice office and walking into O'Hare Airport, and they actually knew my name in the club, and they were like, "Oh, Mr. Browning, yeah, here, just scan me your card. Yeah, you're fine. Here, go over here to your normal spot." That just feels good, right?
Sure.
It's fun. Don't deny it. It's great, and you're chasing the dollar a little bit
Oh, for sure.
until you hit that point. And tell me if I'm wrong, where it was like, wait a second, maybe this is not exactly what I want for my life. Something happens that wasn't necessarily your fault. Everything, I'm a big believer in everything's your fault. Everything's my fault, right? I did something to contribute. I made a decision somewhere, so I own it. There's a great book out there called Extreme Ownership, and they have it down. Jocko Willick
Yep.
and one of his SEAL team members wrote that book, and it's phenomenal. Everybody should read that or listen to it or something. But I believe that. But it's like things happen in our lives that just cut our knees out from underneath of us, and then we start to think about what's really important. And for you, it became, I believe, if I heard this right, your kids and a
Right.
little bit of survival. It
Oh,
sounds like.
sure. Oh,
I mean, you told me
and
one story. You told me one story about like somehow siphoning out some diesel fuel
Oh,
to
yeah,
get it filled up so your house was heated because you didn't have the money right then to pay that
right,
bill. You had to pay a different bill, right? I mean,
right.
this is where you went. You went from here to, oh my gosh,
I did that
how am I going to
twice,
survive?
right? I mean,
Twice.
twice. I didn't come from money. Like I, I waited on tables and I cooked breakfast at Friendly's to pay for college. And the moment I was capable enough, I have a computer science degree. The moment I was capable enough, I applied for jobs. I was a sophomore in college working for the city of Troy, New York, COBOL programming while I was going to college because that paid way better than the Friendlies, in downtown. Um, I always have been. I've been working since I was 12 years old, and
Mhm.
at 14, like babysitting for anyway. But I was always doing that because I didn't come from something that would have allowed me to have a different life. There wasn't. My parents were very entrepreneurial pizza shop owners, hardworking restaurant people, um, and I didn't know any different. I just knew I didn't want that life early on. Was so I knew I was going corporate. But it's very interesting because I did. You're right. I mean I remember I was in a .com for a short period just before the bubble burst, and I came home. We had the entire backyard staked out for the swimming pool that was going to be beautiful, and I felt I was doing this. This was the money that was coming from the .com and all of that. And we pulled the stakes up. We never did put the pool in. But what's really interesting is at one point it was the life that we thought we wanted, like with a vision that mostly it was the visions of grandeur that my ex-husband had, and I deeply in love. What do you do, right? You go along with the ride. um that switch, the first switch, leaving Mellon, leaving my marriage, and making sure that the next thing that was really the most important was my kids. I know you joked about that, but I the juggling of the money was what bill do you pay, and there was actual conscious thought to say, you don't have to pay the oil company because they can't take the oil out of the tank, but you have to pay the divorce attorney because he's the one thing standing between you and the toxic about to be ex-husband.
Mm.
So that was there was actual logic in that, but it was a friend who said to me, "You can go down to the gas station with your diesel fuel tank, get a can. You can put that fuel tank. It's expensive, but you can put that in your home heating fuel and get the heat back on before your kids get home from their dads." And I learned a lot of those kinds of lessons. And I am thrilled that those lessons and the ability to learn from them have didn't define me. I didn't stay and wallow in that. I sort of picked myself up, and my kids were the requirement. I had decided during my early IBM years that my goal was to make sure they had all the education they needed to achieve their goals without debt. Now, it doesn't hurt that one kid decided to go um, service academy. So, as you know, he paid for most of that on his own with his time, and he is still in. But then I had a daughter who went to vet school, and she is a practicing emergency veterinarian with no debt. That was an important gift. I thought I wanted my legacy to be for them. And then my youngest has no college debt as well in the technical theater realm. So I had that goal that was very, very focused on continuing. When you say sort of the chase the money, well, I was chasing it for a reason. It
Hmm.
wasn't so that I could have beautiful things at the
Sure.
time. But what was really interesting is when your intention is something that is so pure as to the well-being of your kids, you'll do anything. And to that point, at IBM, I used to joke they didn't make me clean the men's room today. I was, however, the leader of one of the operational groups that had to handle the fallout from quarterly resource actions in the consulting division. So when people would be removed from the consulting division, you had to still serve clients. And my team was left to respond to that. The amount of just trauma that I internalized by having to do that volume of resource action activity, it's unbelievable. And the stress of that was really, really hard. But it also taught me so much about workforce management and about people and about leading through really hard times and that toxicity that feels like you should just wallow in it. And I pulled myself away from it and said, how do we still be human? How do we have optimism in spite of some of these things? So like you said, learning from those opportunities, those experiences is the most important thing that I took away. Probably more so, actually, yes, definitely more so than even the money. Um, my kids with no college debt probably wouldn't say the same, but but
Yeah, I think that really it's the why you do it, and people will ask me, well, didn't you enjoy your time on Wall Street? And the answer is some of it yes, some of it no. Would I ever go back? No. I mean, I can't even imagine a scenario where I would want to go back to Wall Street. God bless those that love it there and make a whole life of it. But it's just it really, yeah, I love that I had my time there because I learned everything that I know, all the strategies that I know how to do, and how that the access that I have that others don't have because they
right,
just don't know it's there, right?
right.
Is great. And so I'm not upset about it. I'm actually happy that
Right.
I
Oh,
had the experience. And I'm also happy that I, like you, had the, and now I say this, then I did not say this, I had the opportunity to be here, have my knees completely cut out from underneath of me. And, nobody knew it at the time. But I tell this story now because I try and get folks to realize no matter how well you're doing, no matter how great the income is now, it can go away because
right.
I was making a
A
a fair
lot.
amount of money, let's say. And all of a sudden, unbeknownst to me, and nothing that I did, suddenly I didn't have a job in 2009. And I had not prepared. It never crossed my mind that I wouldn't have. I mean, we never looked at the price of anything. We had a really nice car, really nice house. I had, 6 kids. I mean, we were paying, trust me, 6 kids is like a lot of money. And then college costs and trade school costs and everything else for that. You understand this.
I
Where'd the
understand.
money go? Well, let's talk about where that money went. But at the time, when I suddenly didn't have a job, the severance hadn't come in, unemployment hadn't started, and Dipstick, the guy in finance, didn't really have much of a plan. Suddenly, I was going to my son's wrestling meet and didn't have the $3.50 or whatever it is to get in. And I'm digging through the cushions of my really nice car to try and find it. I
Yeah.
never did find the total amount. And I kind of walked in and everybody knew me. And they're like, hey, I was like, oh, you know what? You don't have my wallet with me. And they're like, oh, yeah, just go ahead and go on in. How embarrassing, and the reality check that is. But all of that can go away in a heartbeat, and you just have to not wallow in it. I love that you said that. Figure it out. Go grab a diesel can, go there, go and pour it in. If you have to do it, do it. And then pick yourself back up, work like crazy, and make it happen. No excuses, own it. And I love that you did that. I love that
Thank
you
you.
kind of were here, were there, and then back up here. And then
Right.
you decided that you were unemployable. Am I
Right.
kind of, I'm
I
okay saying
completely.
that?
Oh, you are
Yeah.
absolutely okay saying that.
Yeah. And I have at some point, I realized that I was really unemployable. I mean, I'm a good employee. I was a good employee. I did what they asked me to do. I was not happy. So I was unemployable unless I was doing my own thing. And I've bought and sold businesses. I've started businesses, and now Guardian Rock Wealth is my, hopefully, last one, and I'll do it forever because I love what I do. And it's not easy. You got to grind.
Yeah.
You go from that corporate thing where they bring the clients to you to suddenly, wait a second, how do I go get clients? How
Right.
do I do that? Hey, right. And you
A
went through
hundred
some of
percent.
that, I am sure.
Oh, I did actually, and I early on I built my business by partnering with talent sourcers, the companies that have relationships with those big companies. Because I used to say, no matter how good my SEO is, nobody's finding me on Google as oh yeah, she's the one we want. And my network, I came out of IBM, and the people that stayed at IBM, people that moved to Kyndryl, all were wildly supportive of the venture, but they weren't introducing me to people that were hiring me. They were just cheering for me, which is awesome. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there was no doors opening. And it really, so when this combination of finding really BTG and Catalent is the one that I'm relying on a lot these days. I treat them like my business partner. I actually meet with the practice community leader to talk about what's on their plate. How can I be helping them pitching to clients as well? Sometimes it's never everything I've ever done from that has never been become an engagement for me, but it's become an engagement for one of my colleagues. I love that, about my opportunity now. But what's really interesting is that the option to not to fail wasn't even in my head. Like through the whole time of forming Diamond Solution Group, I just knew that I needed to refine what it was that I was doing. I've had to explain to more people what is organizational change management than I care to. And a lot of people every single day ask me, well, isn't that just like organizational redesign or like org charts? I'm like, no, it really isn't. And then people say change management, that's like project management. I'm like, no, that really
No.
isn't. But what's interesting is that when companies leaders know that they've got something that's burning in them, usually it's a vision, sometimes it's a vision and a strategy, but they haven't turned the corner in getting their employee base, their leaders team, whatever that next group is. They haven't turned the corner about getting them really inspired. Or they have, and it's stalled. They haven't really figured out, it's not getting the momentum that they wanted. I come in and I say to people, I turn your what if wonderings. Like, what if we could, those wonderings, I help the leader turn that into the way to go celebrations that come at the result of success.
Into the
Um,
reality.
into the reality, right? And it's working. I have, to this day, I have never once not worked when I wanted to. I have chosen to build. 2025 has really, for me, have been about increasing my impact because I recognize that I can only work for a few clients at a time and give them the kind of service that they need and the attention that they need. But I also know that there are more leaders that need to understand how to navigate change better. And I have all this 30 plus years of corporate change experience back before they called it change, back before Prosky gave you a certification for it. Like I have all these lessons and I want to make it easier for leaders to do that. So that's why I've started things like podcasts and public speaking and workshops with the Vistage group. Those are the kinds of things that I'm doing to help leaders get better at it. Because I ideally could see a time when everybody's good at what I do and I don't have to worry about the ability to do that.
Well, so I want people to understand too, like you are a very high end because of your experience. Again, both of us have over 30 years, 3 decades. That's a
Right?
long time.
A
Three
long time.
decades of experience, and you've probably made some mistakes, which is where you learn the best.
Right.
Unfortunately, experience is the most expensive, but the best teacher. And you instead of helping the $1 billion or even $1 trillion companies now, you've kind of done what I've done. Instead of helping like the ultra high net worth folks, which are wonderful people, love to
Yeah.
have them as clients as well. But where I really love is to help those people who are like you, or like the small mid-sized businesses that need to make that tweak. Maybe they know what it is, maybe they don't know what it is yet.
Right.
Show them how to do it because you've been there,
Right.
you've done that, and my guess is there's no t-shirt for that, but maybe there is, I don't know. But
Actually, I
that's
will
what you
say
do.
we've made the t-shirt. One of my very first clients, mid-sized company, 800 people, um, they had acquired a very, very competitive competitor. The people that they used to fight with in the LA
Yeah.
marketplace, they hated each other. And
Mm-hmm.
then they acquired them, right? The owner of the company sailed off with their millions, and the people that worked there were now left to deal with the people that they, for years, had been competing and hating.
Yes.
And oh, it was awful. And my responsibility was to create synergy between a post-acquisition culture. And really what they hired me to do was, can you just make everybody use the same process and the same tool? Because the inventory duplicity and the process and the amount of human glue trying to hold those processes together is killing us. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that was the scope of work. What they didn't anticipate was the amount of negativity. They kind of knew that they had a few characters, the people that were a little still
Toxic.
still salty. No, I wouldn't say they were just salty, right? If you live your whole career competing,
One
I
way.
worked at Pepsi. My child grew up thinking Coke was the evil soda. My little guy, my very first, he would call it the evil
Wait,
soda.
it's
Mama, look,
not? It's not the evil
it's
soda way.
right. But so I get that level of complexity, complexity that goes with really truly hating your competition. Got it. And that's what they had. They had people that were really, really difficult. But what was funny was breaking down that culture that the people, the individuals, and some of them they were key influencers in that acquired company, so that they could become part of the overall company and get to the end result that everybody wanted. What was really awesome was I had done that over and over again. IBM used to acquire 1,000 people units when we would take an outsourced business unit as part of our business process. And now you've got 1,000 people whose identity just changed, right? They just went from being the
Yeah.
client to being an IBMer. And there is a human aspect of that change that leaders don't know how to deal with openly. They don't often think about that. They're just use the same system we use. Just get on the same invoicing platforms. You know what? Just get on board. And
Mm-hmm.
that hasn't worked in a very long time. Our culture as a corporate
I'm
and
not sure it
small
ever
business.
did. No, it
I don't
ever
know that
worked.
it ever did, although I think there's probably some time my dad, who's 91, will say, just make them do it. I'm like, Dad, that hasn't worked since you were younger than me, right? And it certainly doesn't work now, right? It certainly doesn't work anymore. So the ability to say, help people to see, understand, and believe in the why things are happening, crucially important. Then the piece that often happens is people, they communicate and they think that's supposed to be enough. The enabling the behaviors, enabling that change, which is the signature piece that I work a lot of times with clients. I want the leadership team to help and really build the capability in them to enable the change behavior that has to happen in order for that any initiative to work. And then I actually work with the leadership team to make sure that they are exhibiting the behaviors and demonstrating to their teams, how do we sustain this change long term and build an era of continuous improvement into the company. So I have taken all those years, all that John Cotter stuff and the ADKAR stuff, and pulled it all together into these 3 steps that I talk through, and I follow it like it's religion, because what I have seen in all of my years of doing this is there's a lot of ways for this to fail, but these 3 steps work 100% of the time. Every single time we follow these 3, build the belief, explain the why, build the belief, enable the change, and then sustain. It happens and it works no matter the industry, no matter the size of the company, no matter the complexity or the caustic nature of the acquisition. It works 100% of the time.
So, bottom line, if you are a smaller mid-sized business owner and you're looking to get to that next level, maybe you know the change, maybe you don't know the change that needs to happen. Either one is
Right.
fine, right?
Yep, for sure.
They need to reach out to you because you're telling us that you have essentially a formula that I'm sure gets implemented in a different way every time, but it's still the formula. 3 steps that you can show them. Not only can you show them, you can take them by the hand, take their entire organization by the hand,
Correct.
and get them through that. Don't do it for free, but
Nope.
you also like to do it for small, mid-sized businesses rather than the multi-billion dollar businesses now,
Right.
sort of those real in the weeds folks like you and me that
Right.
are trying to just get things done, and our corporate escapees ourselves. So how would they get in touch with you? That's the big question. We're going to have it down in the show notes, by the way, for those
Yep.
of you who want to grab it. But just tell us real quick, how's the best way to get
The
in touch
best
with
the best way to get in touch with me is actually on LinkedIn, but you have to spell my name right. If you spell it Sarena Diamond, I am the only Sarena Diamond on LinkedIn. How about that?
you?
Believe it
Wow.
or not, if it's spelled properly, I'm the only one. So R.
Sarena. Yes.
That's
Okay.
it.
All
My
right.
claim to fame. 1 in a billion is what I keep saying, right?
That's right. That's right. So if you need somebody's experience, and so let's see. So they get in touch with you, and what do you charge for like a quick, 30-minute
It's always
consultation?
free. Always free. Free consultation.
Much.
I will talk to anybody. I'll actually give people all of the secret sauce because I don't believe what I'm doing is rocket science. And some leaders can actually go from a consultation to, oh, I didn't, aha, let me do that. And I'm good with that. But there's lots of times where leaders said, yeah, I get it, but I've got a day job. I can't change myself and do that too. So can you come and help me? And so I partner with those leaders, but I never build dependency on me. I always build capability in the leader. So I build their ability to do that change and to be that leader that they want to do. So they do not have to rely on me every single time. I'm not a big fan of that. I lived through the Accenture fee fatigue age that I just don't want to be that consultant that has the
Yeah.
bad name kind of thing. No. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to consult, happy to help. I'll open to any of that.
Yeah. So we do the same thing at Guardian Rock Wealth, and most folks already know this is 30 minutes with the right person can change your life. Some people disagree with me on that. Now, I can't teach you everything that I know. You can't teach somebody everything that you know in 30 minutes, but you can give them ideas that they may not have thought about before. You can listen for 15 minutes or even 20 minutes and
Mm-hmm.
probably see things because you're coming from a different perspective. You're coming from outside that they haven't seen in 10 years,
Right.
and be able to at least point it out. And the value of sitting with somebody with as much experience and knowledge and that you have for 30 minutes for free is some people say, you shouldn't do that, right? I've been told, business coaches are told you shouldn't do that. But I do it all the time because people aren't sure whether they like me or not, and they might
Yeah.
not because I don't gel with everybody, right?
Well,
People are
and I
like,
will
you're
say
way
I
too casual.
yeah.
I gave up the suit and tie as soon as possible after I graduated, exited Wall Street.
Right.
I think last time I had on a tie was at least a year ago.
That's
So I
awesome.
just don't
That's
like them.
awesome.
So
That's it.
so I'm not for everybody, but I do believe I can really help. I can help just about anyone if they
Right.
want to be helped. And you're kind of in that same position. So I love the fact that
We
you
are. Yeah.
give people 30 minutes.
Yep,
That's
for
pretty
sure.
valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to think so. And I do have the people testimonials that come back and people say it has changed their life. Some of those leaders, sometimes they're leaving corporate. I actually, more often than not, I get women that come back to me to say, I heard you speak about, your journey, and it gave me the courage to quit my corporate job and go out on my own, which is
That's great. That's
awesome,
cool
right? Yeah, that is very cool.
because they're
So,
probably miserable in their corporate job,
oh, for
and
sure.
you were able to give them the keys to get out. That's
Everybody
fantastic.
should have the joy in their life every day, the ability to start your day with anticipation of all the great things that you could do and end your day with the feeling of accomplishment that comes from having done it yourself. Unbelievably unprecedented.
Wow. I am going, okay, we're going to end on that because that was profound. That was great. That was fantastic. We're going to I'm going to cut that out and put that on LinkedIn because that was great. Thank you
Thank
for
you
saying
so
that.
much.
And
Thank you,
thank you
John, for
for being
having
on
me.
the show today and taking the time. I really appreciate it. Folks, this is Sarena Diamond. She's told you how to get in touch. It's down in the show notes. Take advantage of Sarena. No, don't take advantage of Sarena, but But take advantage. If you're somebody just looking for what is that change, and my guess is maybe you don't own a business yet. Maybe you are thinking about it. Maybe you're just thinking about being a corporate escapee, and you just need a minute to talk to somebody who's been there, done that. So
Fantastic.
thanks a lot. And we
Thank
will
you, John.
see everyone in 2 weeks when we have the next episode of the Building Your Life podcast. And again, reach out to us at Guardian Rock Wealth or text the word life. Pick up your cell phone, text 321-421-5213, the word life, and you're going to get all kinds of free information. And no, I will not just start texting you randomly. I don't do that. I just want you to have access to all the links and the free information that is out there so that you can learn. All right, everybody, we'll see you again in a couple weeks.